There is a chat option too, if you need to communicate to me, and I will get to that throughout when we can. All right, so recording has begun, and we will start our session sometime in about another minute at most, and we'll stay on time. Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if both of you could either give me a thumbs up or something, do you see the CCI Learning slide deck introduction page here? Do you see that physically? Nope. Okay, thank you. Let me click a button or re-click and see if we can make that appear. Let's try that again. Hey, I got a thumbs up there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to look at product here. So we're not here for PowerPoint. I've got about just 3 or 4 introductory pages here, and we're going to get going. My name is Keith German. Some people call me Mr. Texas, so that's where I am, if anybody's wondering. I'm wearing my Jasper red today. Matter of fact, let me see here. If I can do this real quick here, if I can move my current, there it is, Jasper Active Microsoft certifications is what we're here to talk about. I'm seeing someone else come in here, so I may get interrupted here and there. Let the folks in. So I'm going to present and moderate the Teams channel. I'm going to kind of wear multiple hats today, so if you guys will be patient with me. We are recording. This is the first of the onboarding series. These are 1-hour sessions. Okay. And I'm going to mute, if I can here. Mute all. Okay. Please forgive me, everyone. I just muted everyone. Please forgive me for that. I've already hearing some background noise, but we are recording, and that is for folks who just cannot attend in person. Hello, Bill. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us, and Sila. So this session is designed specifically for teachers or educators, whatever term you might use, for those who are needing to get up and running in Jasper Active and just maybe need a refresher as well. We are going to focus on onboarding. So the steps you need to get up and running initially. This is not, to be clear, a deep dive training session. I just wanted to be fair and make sure everyone was on the same page there. So once we get through with this, if you're done and you feel like, you know what, I still need I need a little more, instruction on the student side or how a student functions or this and that and so forth, I may throw in a few webinars, if you will, on that at some point in time, but you can always email me. You see that on the slide deck here. And in my email, when I reply to you, there's always a line down there where you can book a session with me. You can actually see my calendar, my availability, and you can always have those little 5, 10, 15-minute, 20-minute sessions with me, and that's available to you. You have my email here, so if you want, you can email me and I'll reply, and you'll have that link. But also, if you don't mind, all of you, if you're able to find it, there is a chat option on your Microsoft Teams page, whether you're doing the browser or the Teams app itself. There's a chat option. If you don't mind at least going in there and putting your name, we'll call it taking roll, putting your name in there and just saying hi or something. Maybe put, here's my name and here's the state or city I'm from. Just give us an idea who's who and where everybody is. So glad to have all of you on board here. All right, well, let's get started. So Jasper Active Microsoft Office and Jasper Active Microsoft Office Online. That's going to be the focus. We do, of course, have other products, and we're happy to talk with you about those at some point in time, but today's focus is going to be on the Microsoft Office versions of our applications. Okay. So let's get this little party started here, and let me see if I can get my cursor on the right area. Okay, this is going to be our agenda, and like any good educator, we want to make sure that we have my students have an idea of what we're going to cover and go through and everything. So we're pretty much just putting the final touches on the welcome and Jasper Active overview right now. I'm going to jump right in so we can be productive and effective with what you're here to see. And I'm going to make sure that you know how to get going as a teacher. And then we're going to leave some time to at least touch what the student view looks like. Fair enough? And but not a deep dive. And then of course Q&A. You're welcome to post your questions in the chat while it's fresh on your mind and as I'm going through. But because I'm moderating and presenting all at once or simultaneously, I may or may not be able to get to the questions immediately, but we will get to them. Okay. All right. So just kind of wanted to touch on that. Hello, Tracy. Thank you for joining us. All right. So there's our agenda. And let me again here, move this down here. Okay, and I've already muted everyone, but if you would on your end, if you see it come unmute or something like that, just make sure you stay muted or minimize the background noise. And as we just talked about, make sure you use your Teams chat to communicate any questions that you may have. Of course, I also just shared with you my email too. Okay, all of you, if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. You can write this down, however you want to do it. Maybe, and of course, if you email me, it'll all be in my email, so you don't really have to take a lot of notes here. But our Jasper Active support website URL is simply support.jasperactive.com, and we're going to show that here in a little bit. We have a way of creating support tickets as you encounter an issue, or if you feel the product's not functioning the way it should, et cetera, et cetera. We have a way of creating support tickets via online. That is the strongly preferred approach, but I've been in the classroom. I know the world of the teachers. And sometimes you just need to shoot something out and get it in, get it out, and move on. And you really don't have time to deal with the process. So our email address is help@jasperactive.com. And if you use that email address, it creates a support ticket. Okay. Now, emailing me just a product question, right? Hey, Keith, that you can use my email address for that. But if it's a support ticket, an issue, if you feel like, or you need to report something with a screen image and so forth, please use that ticket email address or go submit a ticket through our support website. Okay, that's it. I told you I was not going to stay in PowerPoint long. That's not what you're here for. And let me see if I can transition screens. All right. I have transitioned to the Jasper Active homepage, jasperactive.com. If you do not see that, if it didn't transition through our meeting, someone will certainly want to communicate that either through the chat or showing your camera and saying, "Hey, Keith, stop." But hopefully you do see the Jasper Active page. So I'm going to take a peek. I'm just going to pause, take a peek right now. Thank y'all. I see that most of you have said hello via the chat. I see we got Florida, Ohio, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. Wow, this is awesome. I mean, it's all over the place. That's great. These are sessions where you don't have to register. Anybody can come whenever. So I don't know if I'm going to have 4 or 5 or if I'm going to have 20 or 30 on any given time. But I'll be doing these sessions 3 times a week at various times. And I'll be doing these for the next 2 months. So if you have any colleagues who are not here right now that might want to benefit from this, please share that with them. I'll be doing this on Tuesdays at noon Central Time, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time, and Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Time. So please let your colleagues know that. And if anyone ever needs to have that list and the links to get to each of those sessions, all you have to do is email me. Again, that's kgerman@ccilearning.com. Okay. Will it be the session for each one? These are going to be the same sessions. I'm not quite sure what's being, yeah, there it is, the same session. Yes, this will be a repeat. So what I'm doing today is what I'll be doing Wednesday and what I'll be doing Thursday and for the next 2 months. And like I said, I may try to schedule and sprinkle in a couple of sessions where it's more deep dive on the exact student experience, the curriculum, how to function, navigate throughout the software as a student, etc. And if that is something that you feel like you would have interest in, feel free to communicate that via the chat. Okay, folks, the first thing, let's get going. First thing you would do in getting started with JasperActive, many of you probably have already done this though, is you would of course go to jasperactive.com and you will click login register. Now we're not going to step through every single click, okay? Because most of this is pretty self-explanatory. I just want you to see it and understand where to go. If you have another teacher in your center and they've never been in JasperActive, but they need to get going, or if that falls into your category, you will simply go here and you will click register here. You've probably done this on many softwares. It opens up a wizard. It takes you through your profile questions. Of course, you set up your security questions in case you forget your password one time and you need a web form to reset that. And it's important that you do the security questions because it gives us the web form options. If you don't do the security questions, then we have to email you your reset. And guess what? Most schools block our email. Tell that to your students as well. It's important that when the students set up their user account, that they set up their security questions, because if they forget their password, well, one, you have the ability to reset it, but two, if they try to reset, they need the web form option. Schools probably will not let our email go through. Just a little tip there. And I'll throw those kind of things in as we go along. So that's it. You'll click register here and you will set up your user account. The one note I will make here, and please hear me when I say this, when you or another person or student clicks register here, please don't do that unless you have one of two things in your possession. One, you actually have your center's teacher code, the code that's going to activate your account as a teacher and let you get into the teacher panel. If you don't have that available, please don't click there until you do have it available. It's important that you flow through and complete the process. Secondly, if it's a student that's doing this, please make sure that they have your group key. Some people call it a course activation code. Cert Prep and Gmetrics calls it an access code, but in JasperActive, we call it a group key. It's your student activation code, your course activation code. Make sure your students have that code available to them, and we'll be looking at that through today's session. Okay, you certainly can set up one-click login options, so you can log in with a Microsoft account, you can log in with your Google account, or you can log in with your Facebook account. I will say that if you try to log in with the office, you will need technical assistance from your IT. And we do have an article available through our support page telling them how to get that set up and what all the codes to put in and so forth, so that you can use your generally it's a Microsoft 365 account, and they can set that up as well if they want to. Otherwise, still to this day, most of our clients are just entering an email and a password, but we definitely have more than our share using the Google login as well. Okay, now I'm just going to come in here and I got mine memorized, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug in my login and I'm going to log in. That's it. So there we've already started. We've already covered where to go to create a user account, and then the one of two things you need to have in your possession when doing so. Once you successfully have that user account established and you actually log in, you will be taken to our website, but the dashboard page. This will be new for some of you if you've ever used JasperActive before. We launched this sometime last year. Right here is a link to our Getting Started page. That's very important for a lot of new users. Okay, like I said, we have many other products though, but you're looking for the JasperActive option, and some of you will be using our desktop client option. I'll be talking about that in a second. And some of you will be using our online, our COVID pivot product, JasperActive Moss Online product that runs through the Office web apps. Okay, so here I'm just going to simply click go to. I could have chosen one of my other options if I wanted to go specifically to reports or specifically to Groups Manager or whatever. I could have chosen one of those options. My name appears, my role appears. Notice I have a drop down. Teachers, hear me. You have a multi-role user account from one login. You do not have to log in and then go create another login to function as a student. Every user in Jasper Active has the student role, automatic by default. But if you're a teacher, then that means you also have the teacher role as long as you used a teacher code, right, to get in. Okay, so if you do find that you're in, but for some reason all you got was the student role, and maybe you used the wrong code or something got set up wrong or whatever, you feel free to submit a support ticket. You could certainly email me, but submit a support ticket, and our team has the ability to go and upgrade you to a teacher role, and we can do that. There are some of you on this line also that at your business entity or at your school or higher education or whatever type client you are, you also have what's called the center admin role. Okay, so that may be possible there as well. Okay, and then we have some really, really, really large school districts mostly that at the district level, not at the school center level, but at the district level, some folks want to have administrative functions at the district level, and we have what's called a hub admin, and that is an option as well. Okay, usually that's only needed by some district that has 5+, etc. schools using the product. Then someone might benefit from a hub administrator role. So just be aware that that's available. What you're here for, though, is the teacher panel. How do I get started? Once you get your user account set up and you have the right roles and you're able to log in and you're able to navigate to this page and everything, the very first thing you're going to do is go to Groups Manager. I'm going to click that and I get my Groups Manager page. There's a lot of search criteria here, but I will tell you that the very large majority of our clients never use this. Honestly, it's because when you scroll down, there's all your groups. So the grid is available to you as soon as you get into the page anyhow. I would suggest you have the show only active groups. Now, if you're on this session and you're a returning client, a returning teacher, and you're like, man, I have like 10 or 15 groups that I've used for the last 2 or 3 years using Jasper Active. Can I just get rid of those? The answer, of course, is yes. And if you watch my screen, all you do is scroll down, click the edit button to whichever group you want to get rid of, uncheck the active box, which I'm not going to do here, but uncheck the active box, which makes it an inactive group. And then when you go to your Groups Manager, then just make sure you have this checkbox, show only active groups, and all of a sudden your inactive groups have disappeared. Poof, nice new school year startup cleanup tip there. Okay, I've been getting a number of emails on how can I clean up my groups list. There you go. So most of you, though, are going to hit add new group. Now, here comes another tip. Teachers, create a group just for yourself. Whoops, must have caps lock on. Okay, whatever you want to call it, right? You can call it Janet's group, okay, or whatever your Tracy's group. Now notice my group key is automatically generated, so there is no code here yet. That is, group key is our terminology for the code that's going to be your course activation code for students, your student code. Group key is our terminology. When you are ready, then you will select your license. You probably only have one in the drop down, but choose the one that has the most current date. Your license field will always tell you when your license began and when it ends. If you have any questions at all about your licensing, or if you disagree with something, contact your Certiport rep. Okay. Then you give it a start date. Here's another tip. I recommend giving it a day before you're creating it. So like yesterday. Okay. If you give it a start date of today and you try to use the group today, that often creates an issue. So just tip, give it a start date of at least 1 day prior. Your finish date certainly can be all the way through your license expiration, or the finish date should be a date that reflects the end of this course work. Okay, so it might be the end of a semester, a tri-semester, or whatever it may be. But that is the date, that the last day that this course for these students will be accessible. Of course, that can be edited. Please know that. You can always come back into your groups and go into edit mode. You can change your group name. You can change your start and finish dates. You can change your descriptions. You can even change your selections. Okay. All right. So if you're using our desktop client version, Or if you're using our online version, then you would select those accordingly. If this is a group of students that really all they're going to focus on is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, just the basic apps, then just check those. If this is that's one group, right? So you can create as many groups as you want to group students however you want for purposes of reporting and tracking progress. So you get to be creative here if you want to, but what do most of our clients do? Most of our clients create a group for class periods. So those are our school clients. If it's a workforce development agency that you're a part of, then you will create your groups based on your class sessions or your student breakout sessions, or you might, some people create a group per course. So they'll have one group just for Word, one group just for Excel, and you kind of see how the pattern works and everything. But you're in control, right? You're in control. So just check these appropriately. Now, I'm going to pause here, and I want to address this desktop versus online piece here, okay? So Jasper Active MOS does come, if you will, in two flavors now. We have what we call our desktop client version. That's the Jasper Active MOS desktop option. That is the option that must run on a Windows-based machine, and it must be locally installed. The online version actually runs via the Microsoft 365 Office web apps environment, not locally installed. Office.com is the URL to get to that. And you would either log in through your Microsoft 365 login credentials that probably your entity gave to you and or your students, or you would produce a free public or probably more private Microsoft account, and either one of those would work. So anybody can, if you don't know, anybody can get to office.com free of charge simply by going to office.com, creating a Microsoft account and logging in. So the Office web apps are available via the web, free of charge, easily accessible, and we do have a product that runs through those applications. And that is your anytime, anywhere access on virtually any type device. We literally have schools right now using iPads, Chromebooks, yes, I said the C word, Macs, and Windows PCs. Okay, all right. So that's how to create your groups. And once you hit save, then our software will auto-generate this group key. And once it produces, you can highlight it, copy it, and then send it over to your students via Google Classroom, Skyward, whatever tool, or Teams, or whatever tool you might be using to communicate with them. You can send that to your students, okay, or those that you want in this group. If it's you creating your teacher group, then you would generate it and you would copy it. And then what you would do, teachers, what you would do if you're using the desktop version, you would scroll down here to student. I have a lot of roles, by the way. You would scroll down here to student. Now these would not appear because you haven't set yours up yet. And you would just go to activate a new course. And there it is. You plug in your code right there, click activate a new course. They will appear on screen. You'll hit confirm, and voila, your list of courses magically appear. That's how you, the teacher, activate your courses. Okay. Now that is through the desktop version that's locally installed on the machine. Okay. If it is the Office online version, watch my screen. I'm going to go to office.com, which I have already saved in my favorites. And I've already logged in through my Microsoft 365 account. Okay, so I can choose Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. Those are your three options. I'm going to go to Word. This is what you and your students would do if you're using the online version. I'm going to click plus. I will always choose an application on the left. I will always click plus. There is no exception. Now, in my case, I already have the Jasper Active add-in already put in my ribbon through my IT person, or I could go add it through the Office store. That's why it's showing up in my ribbon right here. So a couple things I'm going to show you here real quick. I'm going to click this button. Now, I'm already logged in through my other Jasper Active account. So let me click log out here. This is going to get me a little bit in trouble here, but that's okay. I've been there, done that kind of thing. Okay. And I'm going to type in an account that I created. And when I log in, student, guess what? The student will see this screen. And what is it waiting for? It is waiting for their group key. Once the student puts their group key in here, they click join, and voila, their courses appear. At least for Word here, Word Associate, Word Expert, if you check that box, it will then appear. It's important that you understand for the online folks that are on this phone, on this session here, that the add-in, you see this icon right here, the add-in that was added to my Microsoft 365 account is an upload of one time for all of the courses, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You don't have to upload it once for Word, once for Excel, once for PowerPoint. That is not necessary. One time. And once you put that one code in one time, students, it will activate all of the courses that you checkboxed when you created the group. I just happen to be in Word right now. Okay? That's one thing I wanted you to see. The other thing I wanted you to see, for those of you who might need to understand the add-in and get that going, generally speaking, your IT team will take our instructions and push this add-in to your Microsoft 365 accounts and those of your students. Or they could do it to your student accounts that are given to them because they can plug in what those logins are. Okay. If you wanted to test that out yourself, you could go to Insert. Once you open up a blank Word or Excel or PowerPoint document, you could go to Insert, find this option. It says Add-ins. If your IT team pushed it out, then it will either be here under My Organization or it'll be here under Admin Managed, depending on which option they chose to push it to your profiles. Some people choose to go to the store, though. In other words, some people's entities don't block the store. Many school districts do, though. If your store is not blocked, and you'll know by going to Office, Insert Add-ins, and it's either there or it's not. I mean, once you go to the store, it'll say in large black letters, this store is not available, it's been blocked. And once you type in Jasper Active in the store, if it's available to you, you hit enter, and guess what? There's the add-in, and all you do is hit add. If the store is not blocked at your entity, and you and your students can go to Insert Add-ins and they can get to the store and they can search Jasper Active and find it, you don't need IT. You understand? You don't need IT. You just tell them to choose it and hit add. Boom, they're done. You need IT if that store is blocked. And most school districts do block it. So there's that piece right there. So I wanted you to see physically what it looks like to the student when they're first getting started. Okay. And then I wanted you to see how to add the add-in if you're going to go the online route. And many of our schools and entities are doing that still out of the fear for COVID and more shutdowns and more remote learning and those types of things. All right, I got to stay focused here on onboarding. I want to make sure we don't get into a training session and everything. So thank you for bearing with me. Okay, let me see if it still lets me do this. No, okay, yeah. Okay, I was expecting that. And so that's good there. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the teacher panel. All right, so you now know how to create a group. First thing you're going to do, you know that you can edit your group information and you know about the check boxes. Okay, so you can control all of that. And you now know how to activate a student, create a student account, and you know how to give them their code so they can activate their account and get their courses up and running. Now, the other thing that I want to show you here is your next step. Are you going to import your student accounts or are you going to let them create their accounts? I've already shown you how they create their accounts if they do it. So teachers, this is new. We wrote this out late spring last year. Teachers, you now have the ability to import your students and they'll just be in there and ready to go when the students come in. If you do that, you just go to this option, you click the template, it opens up a spreadsheet. We've already built out the spreadsheet with 4 or 5 columns. It's very straightforward and simple. You then can populate that spreadsheet either through some export file from your LMS system or manually population, copy, paste, hopefully, or importing. But there's your template. Once you get that ready, then come in here and fill out these 6 fields. This field right here, generic password, is only used if inside your spreadsheet you got a list of students and you missed putting their password in and you missed it, it's blank. Then we will use this as the generic password. That's what that's there for. Once you have these filled out, and by the way, this language option is demographic only. It will not control the curriculum, whether it appears in English or Spanish or Vietnamese or whatever it may be. It is demographic only, information only. Please know that. When you're ready, you choose file, go find your file wherever you saved it, and click import, and your students are in. Very straightforward process. Okay. Groups Manager, import students, download teacher resources is probably the next thing I would do, but I'm going to pause here and I'm going to at least address those of you who want to do the desktop client version of Jasper Active, our traditional version. Still, the majority of our clients are using this. When you go to that, it'll tell you what version you have installed. You see my J icon up here? It has a check mark. Yay. If it has an X and you want to use the desktop client version, that's a problem, meaning you have not yet installed Jasper Active onto your machine. If it has an exclamation mark, those are your only 3 indicators, X, exclamation, and check mark. If it has an exclamation mark, then it means one of 2 things. One, either this version is outdated, meaning we have another version that you should install, or it means if I scroll down, the courses that I've selected, let's say I selected to learn in Office 2016. Oh, wait a minute, I see that you have Microsoft 365 apps for Enterprise installed. That's not 2016. They're incompatible. You could have lesson exercise scoring validation issues. It is important that the course checkboxes you check in your Groups Manager are compatible to the Office version you have locally installed on your machine. That is very important. Now, if you have administrative rights to your machine, then guys, all you need to do is click download, institution version, almost always, and you can download as many times as you need to on your PC Labs in your machine, in your classroom. Or if you're trying to get the install to one of your IT folks so they can install it, folks, just log in and go to this J icon, which is this page. Go here to download, right click, and copy link address. Then email that to your IT team. That gives them our .msi executable file. Your IT team will know what to do with that. They'll take that URL and they'll push it to your machines in your lab. That's if you do not have administrative rights, or even if you do, you still want IT to do it and they're responsive, then that's how to get that to IT team. The other way is to email me and I can send you a email template to forward to them. Home version is only used, hear me, even if they're at home, even if they're remote. Home version is only used if someone has a device that is very low on disk space. Then you will want to use that, but that's the only reason to use the home version. Okay. Okay, let me take a peek here. All right, we're doing good on time right now. Download teacher resources, and I'm going to pause here hopefully in about a few minutes to just kind of take a peek at the chat in case there's something there. Download teacher resources, teacher, is your next option, or whatever order you choose to do this. Download teacher resources. Now, currently we give you a list of these, but I'm telling you now this list pertains to our desktop installed version. So Word 2013, we're still supporting that. 2016 or 2019/365. That's what this list pertains to. But notice when I hit this drop down, select a course, aha, I get my online. This list is a little different, very similar to this list, except, and one of the things we did really cool in online is we actually gave you a course syllabus. Not sure why we don't have a syllabus in the desktop version yet, but maybe that's forthcoming. And so you'll notice when you click Word Online, you'll notice that here's your list of resources for online. You teachers just click download, put it down to your local machine. Of course, you don't want to do this on a Chromebook because you're downloading files, but download, put it on your machine, extract it, put it in a folder that makes sense to you, maybe on your desktop or something like that, and then you have all the files. My instructions to new teachers is to do this and then to just open each of these up, familiarize yourself with them, kind of draw some conclusions as how you might use these, which ones are important to you, etc. But if you don't know, if you're a new client and you don't know, this all came with your purchase. These are some highly valuable resources that came with your purchase, and they are available and ready for you to download. Okay, and then use them as you wish. Okay, so download teacher resources. Okay, so we talked about Groups Manager. That's step one. And you can edit. We talked about import students, optional, but possibly step two. Installer, the one thing I did not say that I should say right now is if you are using the desktop version, the actual installed version, the live in the application version of Jasper Active, the installer, you don't have to install Jasper Active until you're ready to function as a student and you're accessing curriculum. That's what the installer does anyhow. You teachers, Jasper Active is still a web application. You can do everything I'm talking about on this screen without Jasper Active installed. So I wanted to make that clarification there. I can create my groups. I can import students. I can download teacher resources. Now, of course, if I'm new, I don't have any students yet. I don't have any data to report on. So reports are probably not so important at the moment, but they will become very important. So let me kind of close out some of this with talking about reports. When you go to reports as a teacher, as an instructor, you have the option of progress report, maybe self-explanatory, a little description. You have the option of quizzes. Quizzes report only applies to the desktop version. We may, at some point in time, add quizzes into the online version, but have not yet, and therefore this report does not apply. The grade report applies to both, and the master analysis report applies to both. Okay? You'll also notice that when you go to reports, you have an option here called export view. So when I run a report, like a progress report, let me show you. And let's say I come down here and I choose Word, show report. Okay, these are all my groups. This might be period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, period 5, etc. maybe. These are all my groups. So I can pick which group do I want to run this progress report for. Okay, and if I come in here and I choose this group here, then I have a lot of users. Students. One, this looks great. It's right here on screen. Everything looks great. But I'd actually like to see this exported out. I might even want to push all this data out to Excel. And that's what this export view option is for. So I can go to export view. And you'll notice that when you choose your option here and you run a report, then your export view, your view looks a lot different all of a sudden. But the one thing I wanted you to see here is not only will you see some graphical representations, but here's the kicker. There it is. You can push your reports out to Excel by going to export view, finding your report, finding your group. I happen to pick a group here that didn't have students for this particular application, but you have the ability then to push it to Excel. Sometimes PDF might be appropriate, but you see how that works. All right, so reports function that way. The one thing I wanted you to see though, okay, let me choose online this time. I just wanted you to see this. If I go in here and I choose one of my groups and I see that here's my students, and okay, this student made a 15% on her benchmark. Well, what did she get right or wrong? Well, you know what? There's an underline there. You see that? And you know what? There's an underline under her name here. Guess what the underlines mean? That is a hyperlink to drill down on further data. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click 15%. And I get to see the result of her benchmark. Oh man, I better get my course mapping document out that I grabbed from Teacher Resources. And me and this student need to work on these things, but you know, where is add a title to a table? Well, I know enough to know it's in lesson 2, but which exercise is it, etc. Then I can use my course mapping document to map back to the lesson exercises in the product. So just kind of tying some of those things together that we've talked about. But I wanted you to see how drill down works, and because it's a really awesome feature. If you drill down on the student side, you'll actually even get to a point where not only can you see, okay, I see that they've made 12% progress on Word 2019 Associate, but how have they done on their lessons? Okay, well, if I click their name, I see lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, I see the progress. Oh, now if I click lesson 1, I can even see details on that. How many times have they tried this exercise? And oh, I see here that they've spent 4 minutes and 33 seconds on this. And so you even have some time information. And that's very important for some districts or entities that are having to do upscaled reporting to the state or to the district or whatever it may be. Time information is very important to some of our districts. Okay. So believe it or not, we have covered how to create a user account. We have covered how to log in and what the dashboard looks like and how to use that dashboard to get to this page. I do want to emphasize something that I haven't done yet. Teachers, you will almost always go to jazzproactive.com, log in, and get to this page, the teacher panel. Or if you're using the desktop client version, your student page as well. You can toggle between your user roles from one login. Students, though, I want to emphasize something. Hear me when I say this. If you are on this session and you plan to use the online version of JazzProactive, there is a very strong chance your students don't even need to know about jazzproactive.com. They don't even need jazzproactive.com technically. They can actually, if you know that you're using the online version, your students can actually just go to office.com and get started from there. And all they will do is go to office.com. Hopefully your IT team has done their job and the JazzProactive icon is waiting for them. So they'll click Word. They'll click that plus button I told you about. They'll click the JazzProactive icon, and voila, the JazzProactive login page appears like you've already seen. And they click New User. They register their user account. Then they say, let's get started. Up, there's that page where it's asking them for their group key, which you will have already created their groups and given out their group keys. They plug in their group key and they hit go and they're in their courses. They really don't even need jazzproactive.com. Jazzproactive.com is going to be really critical for you, the teacher, or your admins getting to your administration panels, your teacher panels, or it'll be important for those who are students and they are using the desktop live in-app application. So a little bit of clarity there. Just wanted to touch on that. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm a student and I'm in JazzProactive Moss Online, can I get to that from jazzproactive.com? Absolutely. I just make sure I'm at my student role. And let's say I'm an online student. My page will look like this. And all I do is click it. That's all I do. And watch my screen. Watch my screen. All it does is opens up office.com like we talked about. And I go to office.com. I click Word. Watch my student actions. I click plus. And I'll let Microsoft do its thing. I let bandwidth do its thing. So if they're home at remote on a Wi-Fi, trust me when I tell you, one of the biggest lessons your students are going to learn is patience. So this isn't JazzProactive related. This is Wi-Fi and office.com, but now I'm running on a little more than just Wi-Fi. So I'm going to click jazzproactive.com because my icon is there. My IT did its job. I'm going to click Get Started. Move that up a little bit here. And I'm going to log in as a student. Already has courses and everything else already done. Make sure I typed all that correct. And yalla, there we go. Hey folks, this is what it looks like when a student has logged into the online application. I'm a student that's already done my benchmark. Check. I can go to my lessons. I happen to have also done, so I've already pretty far along, right? I've already done my create project. I've already done my summary assessment. The ebook is available. And I go to lessons. Now I'm going to cheat here with our session today. We're doing good on time. But I'm going to cheat and show you something way cool about the online version, if you don't mind. I'm going to go to lesson 1. Looks like I've done all of that. So I see my progress. And these green dots mean that I have done all of these exercises and all of its content, and I got it all right. There's a tip there. That's what the green dots stand for. Now, if I go here to lesson 2, though, it looks a little different. Wait a minute, I've only gotten 22% of lesson 2. Wait a minute, that's not a green dot. Exercise 1 probably has multiple tasks, and it looks like I got about 2/3 of the task right. So maybe it's question 1, question 2, question 3, and I got question 1 and 2 right, but I got question 3 wrong. This is what it would look like when a student has begun an exercise, but they have not completed all of it correctly. Just wanted to show that to you. But watch this. This is so cool. I am using Google Chrome browser. Don't tell Microsoft. I'm not using Edge, but I love Edge. Watch my screen. I'm an ESL student. I already had this call this morning. Literally had this call this morning. Coach at a school calls me up, said, hey, I have an ESL student. They don't speak much English. They speak Spanish. Can we do this? And I show him how it's done. Hey, coach, just have your students go in, highlight the text. I give him an instruction, and I have it if you need it. I give him an instruction, it's in our support article, on how to add the Microsoft Immersive Reader to a Google Chrome browser. If you're using Edge, that's a Microsoft browser, and guess what? It's already built in. Did you know you can highlight text? And did you know you can right click when that extension is added and you can say, help me read this? Watch my screen. This is so cool as a teacher, as an educator. And right there it is. Now I can do this.
In this exercise, you will search.
Okay, and it'll begin reading for me. But wait a minute, I don't speak English. So I go over here to Immersive Reading, I click the book, and I change my language. I go down here and I find Spanish, multiple versions. I'm gonna go Mexico. Whole document, notice what it does.
En este ejercicio buscará texto para poder añadir.
And that is so cool for our ESL students, multilingual students, and you see that Microsoft Immersive Reader has a lot of language options. I'm not sure that all of them listed have the Immersive Reader capability, but many or most of them do, from what I understand. That is a Microsoft product, not a CCI Learning or Jasperactive product, but it is a browser-based accessibility tool, an accommodations tool, and it's way cool. So I just wanted you to see that. Okay. But as you see here, if I'm using the desktop live and app version, then this is what the student version looks like. Except students will not have a drop down here because students only have one row, and that is of a student. Okay. And this is what their page will look like. So here in their case, all they do is they go into whichever application you tell them to start with. Now I've already done the benchmark exam. So they start off with a benchmark and then they get their lesson tabs. And yes, what does that look like? Does anybody know what that is? That's right. G-Metrix has rebranded its practice management software and is now called Cert Prep. If you see the word Cert Prep, that's what you know as G-Metrix. So we have an integration built in here, and you click this, our software will use your group key, and it will automatically produce an access code in G-Metrix and their login. It'll use your Jasperactive login credentials. It'll produce a login for them. It'll get them into G-Metrix, and they take their practice exam, tests, and so forth. But I just wanted you to see the screen. Like I said, it's not going to be a training session. So, okay, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to take a look at the Q&A. Thank you for all the hellos. Okay, I see here. Okay, is Outlook available for Microsoft Online? Eric, great question. I did not cover that. Thank you for asking. Because as you see here, I'm in the desktop version. I have Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I also have the experts. Now, in this case, I chose not to turn on the Microsoft Expert. It looks like it does have it. And Access and Outlook. Eric, the answer is no. as it is with Office.com. So Microsoft is not yet ready from a commands and functionality standpoint to support Access or Outlook in the online version. So great question. If you're using the online version of Jasper Active, you will only be able to use Word, Word Expert, Excel, Excel Expert, and PowerPoint. If your students need to learn Access or Outlook, they need to get their hands on a Windows-based machine and use our desktop live in app application. Okay, great question. Next question. So the student has to upload Teams. No. So Ms. O'Brien, your students do not need Microsoft Teams. They can use Zoom, they can use whatever you want, those types of things. They will not need Teams. And so great question there as well. Okay, Ms. O'Brien, I'll give you the Texas Cowboy. Good job. All right, good for you. You can imagine what it was like in my classroom. And this is very lighthearted with me, actually. All right, so I'm looking at my agenda here. We have created class groups. We've created teacher resources or looked at those, reports overview, importing students. We talked about how to activate your courses. The last thing, hang in there with me, please. The last thing that we're going to take a look at here, let me just kind of close a few things so we don't get confused, is I'm going to go in here to Jasper Active and I'm going to click support. And it's going to open up my support page. Wrong one. I've got a private login to my support page, and that's not what I wanted you to see. So let me click this. All right, there we go. This is what you would see. Last thing, folks. Very critical though. Please watch my screen. You need to know how to use our support page. I'm logged in already, but if you're not, or you've never created a support ticket login account, that's different than your Jasper Active login account. You will have an option up here to create a profile. Did y'all hear that? Your support ticket login is separate and apart from your Jasper Active login. We use ticket software, and that software has a login. If you ever have any trouble with that, message us and we'll work with you to get that resolved. But this is our support page. Folks, if you need further details than what we're covering today on Jasper Active MOS, then if you're in the United States, and I think all of you are, you have Jasper Active with Cert Prep integrated license. So just click this icon, like it says, to get started. There's your step-by-step getting started instructions and many resources as well. That's the article we built. If I go back to the home page, folks, if you're using our Jasper Active MOS Online, then just click that right there, and there's your getting started instructions, including all the details that your IT team will need. You can just copy paste that and send it to them, that they will need to push that add-in out to the Microsoft 365 accounts or to Microsoft. So that is the getting started instructions location. Now, we have one client of ours I know that came in this week, and they have numerous versions. So they actually have the Jasper Active Adobe, they have the Jasper Active MOS and the online with one purchase, and they have the Jasper Active QuickBooks, and they have the Jasper Active Digital Literacy IC3 products or other products. So they might want to come down here instead and just go to Getting Started, see all 6 topics. And there you would have the getting started instructions for all of our product lines, including our Canada friends. Okay, last thing, and we're almost done. Please, everybody, please use the support page and the search knowledge base. So we talked about this today, and I want you to see what this looks like. Okay. So if you guys want a refresher to what we talked about, what are the products needed for student certification? And there they are. And it talks about whether you're using the live in app or the online stuff. Microsoft Office is needed, MOS, Cert Prep, formerly Gmetrics, Compass. And then we give you some details for this and then the image to kind of put it all together. Learn. Everything starts with Jasper Active MOS. Don't start with Gmetrics. It's the wrong order. Start with Jasper Active MOS. Set up your students, set up your group keys. Don't go to Gmetrics, folks, and create an access code. and think that code's going to work for JasperActive. It won't. Start with JasperActive. Once you get everything set up, you'll get into Gmetrics from within JasperActive. Can you get to Gmetrics outside of JasperActive? Yes, and we have a support article for that. And when your students have demonstrated competency and they can demonstrate to you that they can complete an exam and pass, then take them to Certiport Compass. There's your ecosystem, okay? The other thing that I think some of you will have very much interest in looking at here is, and here we go. Oh, how do I want to do this? User account. Sometimes it gets a little interesting. How do I create a JasperActive account? I took you through that today, but here is the support article for that. And what did I say? Go register here, yada, yada, and there's your support article. Folks, please use that capability, okay? I'm looking here, and I have one final note. If you're using the desktop version of JasperActive MOS, guess what? If you go down here, there's a language option. The JasperActive MOS Online currently is English only. I'm expecting the Spanish language curriculum sometime soon, but right now it's an English only, but I showed you how to use Immersive Reader to get other languages. So in JasperActive Desktop, I can go in here and change my language to Spanish, and it's just one click and done. And I go in, and everything's in Spanish now, including, drum roll please, the ebook, including the ebook. That is a one-click language translation built into the product of the desktop version. Okay. All right, let me see if I can pull this off. I'm not always a Teams expert here, but yeah. And so I think you have the ability to unmute yourself if anyone has any final comments or live questions. I looked at the chat. I think we've addressed everything that was posted. You have my email address, and I welcome your emails. And if you want my link to book sessions or whatever, if you need to, then email me, say hello, and I'll reply to you, and you'll have my link in the email address. Does anybody have a comment or a final question? Otherwise, we have achieved our objective, and let me look here, and we did it 3 minutes early. 3 minutes early. You guys were amazing. I see some typing. Let me pause. You guys, oh, thank you very much. You guys were amazing, great listeners, hopefully good learners. I would certainly welcome, this is my first one to do this school year, and I welcome your feedback on its value and any improvements. I am a coach in I guess, in background. I take constructive criticism as good as I can. I can give it to you, but that's just how I take it. I want to hear from you. We can't improve if I don't hear from you. So thank you for being here today. Your time is valuable, and we will be signing off. Have a great school year, folks. Be healthy. Stay safe.